Broads Media.
It was a wild day in Eagles land as we find out that Jalen Hurts has a sprained shoulder in his throwing arm. And before that was solidified, there were so many questions. There was actually all sorts of reports about a broken collarbone and this and that. And at one point, Jeff McLean reported it was his non-throwing shoulder. And then we find out seconds later, it actually was his throwing shoulder. And let me tell you, there was a lot of emotions flying around in my body. But here's what I do know. I'm not hitting the panic button just yet. When you are 13-1, believe it or not, you actually earn yourself some time with this certain predicament, and it's not good, all right? Don't get me wrong. It's not a good position to be in that your MVP quarterback is going to miss some time, but it also doesn't sound like it's going to be anything outrageous. Jeff McLean of the Inquirer is reporting that he's hearing maybe a couple of games. It might, though. It might be a spot where you don't see him until the postseason. But I do think it's important that he is going to be able to be available, in my eyes, for the postseason. So I know it's wonky and I know it's weird. And I actually have a lot of faith in one Gardner Minshew to handle the business in Dallas and shut those frauds up. But that's more of a different conversation. What I do know is this, that in the fourth quarter, after the shoulder sprain happened, he went 6 of 9 for 102 yards in the air and that beautiful dime to A.J. Brown for 68 yards. He also ran 6 times for 9 yards and scored a touchdown. My point is, he was still able to do some scary things out there and throw the football. I don't think it's majorly concerning. I don't think it's, the season's over. You lost such a powerful weapon. He might need some rest. He might need some time, but eventually, when it matters most, and the lights shine bright, and we're talking about postseason ball at the Link in South Philadelphia, he'll be back in shotgun behind Jason Kelce, making magic happen. Let's say this to kind of put it in perspective. If there was a playoff game this week, he'd be playing. You have the luxury of being able to handle this a certain way because you don't fall for trap games, because you win ugly ones, because you find a way in the fourth quarter against the Colts to win when you really didn't play well, but your defense carries you. Your defense holds you in it, just like Hassan Reddick single-handedly did some special things out there in Chicago to put your offense in a position to do what it needed to do. I would think that I would be in a way worse spot, emotionally that is, if you told me this would have been the case prior to it actually happening. But I'm all right. I'm good. I do know, though, that there's a lot of people blaming Nick Sirianni and blaming Shane Steichen. That's not going to be me. Part of the reason why you are incredible this year is because Jalen Hurts uses his legs. Now, both can be true. I do think it was ridiculous how they used Miles Sanders. But Jalen Hurts, whether it's the 15th carry, the 6th carry, the 2nd carry, or the 11th carry, can get hits and then have some sort of injury. I'm looking at it more with the eyes of, this is football. This is what happens when you play a competitive sport where the objective is to hit the guy with the football. Now, yes, I'm aware that the less time the quarterback runs, the less times he is in a position to get drilled. At the same time, the reason why you're 13-1 and the favorite to win the whole damn thing is because of what he does with the football in his hands. This is a very option-heavy offense. You are allowing him to read and react. You are giving him the freedom to make those decisions based off of how he is reading the defense and how the defense is playing the game. Miles Sanders should have 1,000% been utilized more. No doubt about it. Which would have taken Jalen Hurts out of certain spots to get hit. At the same time, people get hurt all the time in the pockets. People have non-contact injuries left and right. I'm labeling this more as part of the game, more than it is Shane and Nick Sirianni ruined it. And if we're going to look at the timeline, of what Jeff McClain reported with a couple of games, that would be Dallas and New Orleans. So it does seem to be in a spot where you might miss the rest of the regular season and then have the 1 week of the bye, which would put him at 4 weeks without seeing any real action in real time, taking some shots and all that. But once again, just to put it in perspective, when the season began, they had an entire offseason. They weren't playing in the preseason. They weren't doing much tackling and all that during training camp. Trust me, we bitched about it basically every single day. And when the first game came around in Detroit, he threw for 243 yards and rushed for 90. He almost rushed for 100 yards in his first game, and he threw for 243. That was with the last game being against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And by the way, with A.J. Brown implemented, we're playing with a whole entire new identity. Like, that matters. And he played well in that game. Completion percentage could have been a bit higher. No doubt about it. It wasn't perfect. I'm not saying it's perfect. But I'm telling you, he played pretty damn well for the first game of the season for what it is after having so much time off. These 4 weeks, being this comfortable with this offense, this comfortable with playing with everybody, I wouldn't anticipate him just not remembering how to play the sport of football the way people fear that he will be out of rhythm. Also, let's factor this in. Let's say, hypothetically, Jalen Hurts wasn't hurt. And he played this week against Dallas, right? Okay. And they won. They kicked ass. They dominated. They annihilated that football team. So the Eagles did what they were supposed to do, and now they're sitting at the top of the NFC. Let's say that Nick Sirianni, that Howie Roseman, everyone who has all the information and the analytics and all this on how they should rest their players, say they aren't going to play against New Orleans, and they're not going to play against the Giants. Then they have the bye. Because that's not ruled out. Hypothetically speaking, that is. Hurts isn't injured. Hurts plays against Dallas. They win. It would not be ruled out that they don't play against New Orleans, they don't play against the Giants, and then they have a 1 week bye. So, with that said, that would be 3 weeks. Are you telling me the difference in 1 week? Because it's possible now he won't see it for 4 weeks instead of 3 in the hypothetical I just drew out. You're telling me that 1 week extra is the difference in you thinking this would sink. And you thinking this team wouldn't be able to do it. I don't feel that way.